Picture an early summer dawn when the sky above Umbria is the color of hammered bronze, and the very soil seems to shudder, anticipating a convulsion that will decide who owns the peninsula's heartbeat. Across a wide basin near the market village of Sentinum, a haze of campfire smoke drifts over two conglomerate hosts as different as storm and stone. On one side, the Roman Republic, scarred but iron-willed, stands beneath crimson vexilla, its legions arranged like the teeth of a great saw ready to rip destiny open. Fabius Maximus Rullianus, praetor turned master strategist, paces behind the front rank, repeating a single oath. This is where Rome stops surviving and begins ruling. On the wings, allied Etruscan and Umbrian cohorts test sword edges against flints, eager to prove loyalty and win land grants promised by the Senate. Opposite them, a coalition as old as the Apennines itself exhales confidence. Samnite infantry clad in checkered linen tunics and bronze oyster helmets, fierce Gauls whose bare torsos glisten with blue woad spirals, indomitable Umbro-Etruscan rebels looking to rekindle city-state independence, and swift Sabine light troops flitting between them. Their chieftains have sworn by oak and thunder that today Rome's relentless march will find its wall. Between the two fronts spreads a gently rolling plain split by tufts of tall grain, an arena large enough to swallow entire peoples. Crows already circle overhead, as if oracles anticipate a feast. Yet destiny still hovers at the brink. One misjudged charge, one timely cavalry sweep, and the political map of Italy will shift like tectonic plates. Hold this tableau in your mind's eye, because the decisions, betrayals, and acts of ferocious courage that unfold across these furrows will reverberate from Hannibal's nightmares to Caesar's commentaries, forever branding the name Sentinum into the DNA of Roman military myth. To understand why the air at Sentinum crackles with such history-making voltage, we must roll the timeline back a half-century. When the First Samnite War ignited in 343 BC, Rome was still a regional contender jostling neighbors along the Liris Valley. The Samnites, mountain warriors hardened by shepherd life in the central Apennines, excelled at hill ambushes and swift spear thrusts. Though the initial conflict ended hastily, it seeded a blood feud. The Second Samnite War erupted a decade later and nearly broke Rome at the Caudine Forks, where entire legions surrendered their arms beneath Samnite yokes in humiliation. From that sting, Rome learned its existential lesson: adapt or perish. The manipular legion took shape. Roads snaked through mountains to keep columns supplied, and colonies sprouted like fortified seeds along conquered frontiers. By 298 BC, war flared yet again, this time on a scale Italian soil had never witnessed. The Samnites, bruised by Roman persistence, recognized they could no longer face the Republic alone. Their envoys traveled from the marshes of the Po to the volcanic slopes of Campania, forging a grand coalition, free-spirited Gallic tribes hungry for plunder, Etruscan city-states chafing under Rome's shadow, Umbrians who saw a chance to reclaim lost autonomy. It was a union of urgency rather than trust. But numbers mattered. Reports reaching the Senate spoke of nearly 50,000 infantry and 10,000 cavalry massing under a joint command of Samnite General Gellius Egnatius. Rome answered with everything short of the city's sacred geese. Consul Quintus Fabius Maximus Rullianus left his post in Etruria to converge with fellow consul Publius Decius Mus near Sentinum. Both men were veterans of savage mountain campaigns and knew that allowing the coalition to fracture Italy's center would slice Rome's spinal column. They summoned 15 legions, over 40,000 Roman and allied foot, 2,500 cavalry, plus Etruscan and Umbrian contingents that defected from the coalition once bribed with future citizenship. Even so, scouts returning from the dappled Umbrian forest claimed the Gauls alone swung swords big enough to decapitate horses. In the Senate portico, anxious equities whispered that Rome might be gambling her young manhood on a single throw. But in the forward camps, Legionaries sharpened gladii and pinned sprigs of oak to helmets, a nod to Jupiter's tree, as if the gods themselves were conscripts. Each soldier carried into battle not only iron, but the quiet memory of caudine disgrace and a vow that no legion would bow to Samnite yokes again. When June's full moon flooded the plain of Sentinum in pearlescent light, two juggernauts slept uneasily, mere spear casts apart, their dreams stitched with equal parts hope and dread. Dawn would determine whether a Roman world was inevitable or whether Italy would revert to a patchwork of hill republics forever resisting one another. At first light, dew steamed off shield faces. Roman augurs slit a white bull. Its liver's deep crimson hue signaled favor. Across the field, Gallic druids lit cedar torches and traced spirals in the dust, invoking Tyrannus. Then a roar drowned ceremony. Gaul, heavy cavalry, 2,000 horses, white fur capes billowing, charged straight across the grain swales toward Rome's left wing, commanded by Decius Mus. Their tactic was shock, to punch a hole before infantry lines clashed. Decius deployed velites ahead. Javelin volleys peppered the onrushing mass, but momentum carried through. The Gauls smashed into Roman equities, tossing riders like dolls, biting chunks out of the formation. Decius steadied his line, ordering maniples to open checkerboard gaps. The Gallic wave denied a single target, funneled into corridors where principes countercharged, stabbing upward at horse bellies. Yet the kinetic impact was overwhelming. Some maniples buckled, centurions went down. Decius knew the coalition's plan: break a Roman wing, swing inside, replicate the caudine forks on open ground. He sent messengers galloping to Fabius on the right. "Hold your attack. I may be overrun." The Roman right faced Samnite spearmen renowned for hill tactics, now forced into plain battle. Fabius ordered his troops to anchor shields and await. He recognized that if he advanced too soon, the Samnites could draw him out, exposing Decius's faltering left to envelopment. So he performed a tactical stalemate. Skirmishers sallied and retreated in measured rhythm, pelting Samnites but never committing. Gellius Egnatius, eager to synchronize with Gaul's success, urged his Samnite mass forward. Bronze shields glittered, war horns bellowed. But Fabius yielded ground slowly, bending without breaking, buying Decius minutes. Back on the left, Decius watched Gaul infantry, tall reeds of men with plaited hair, pour through gaps behind their cavalry. His front line trembled. Recalling his father's act at Vesuvius in 340 BC, Decius chose the ultimate Roman gambit: Devotio, self-sacrifice to the gods of the underworld in exchange for victory. He summoned pontifices, donned a pure white toga over armor, took the latus and recited vows, dedicating himself and the enemy to the shades. Then, spurring his horse, he charged alone into the thickest Gallic knot. Javelins and axes hacked him down, but his death unleashed a surge of religious frenzy among Roman ranks. They bellowed, "Decius!" as both oath and war cry, redoubling resistance. Gaul warriors, unnerved by this act of fearless suicide, hesitated. Roman principes counterattacked, while triarii formed spear walls to halt cavalry. Fabius, seeing dust plumes on left diminish, unleashed his own right wing at last. Samnites met the charge with energy, but Fabius's manipular flexibility proved crucial. Cohorts pivoted, slid, and overlapped like toothed gears. Allied Umbrians curled around Samnite flanks, cutting off withdrawal to a stand of oaks where refugees hoped to regroup. Meanwhile, a detachment of Roman allied Etruscans executed a pre-planned maneuver. Appearing behind Gallic lines with captured Samnite standards, they blared horns mimicking friendly signals. Gauls, fearing encirclement, began a fighting retreat toward a low ridge. This withdrawal exposed Samnite left flank, breaking their cohesion. Gellius Egnatius galloped to rally, but was thrown when his horse took a pilum. Triari closed in, ending his command. Leaderless, the Samnite center wavered. By the 7th hour, the battlefield was a mosaic of duels, mutilated bodies, and smashed shields littering the barley. Roman casualties were grievous. An eagle standard lay half-buried in mud, its bearer's severed hand still clamped to the pole, but their lines held integrity. Fabius directed reserves to plug gaps, sending a courier back to camp ordering the final fresh legion forward. Its arrival, scarlet plumes unmarred by dust, delivered psychic shock to coalition ranks who believed Roman numbers spent. Gaul and Samnite chiefs convened hastily, debating whether to disengage and withdraw into the wooded hills north of Sentinum. But Gallic pride forbade retreat. They proposed one last massed onslaught to kill Fabius. Gathering what remained of cavalry, horses foam-flecked, riders bleeding, they spearheaded a wedge at the Roman right. Fabius anticipated and arrayed Triarii in deep phalanx, points angled like a hedgehog. Numidian mercenaries allied with Rome galloped from reserve and harassed the flanks with javelins, splintering momentum. The Gaul wedge crumpled. Late-day sun stained clouds crimson when Fabius gave the order for complete advance. Roman horns blared a triple descending note. Remaining maniples surged, pila volleys softening ranks before gladii work. Samnite shields rang like smithies, but exhaustion dulled reflexes. Gauls, seeing Samnites fold, broke into rout. Many cut down near a shallow stream that would be named Fossa Sanguinis, the ditch of blood. One pocket of Samnite diehards attempted square formation around their fallen chief's body, chanting ancestral hymns. Fabius approached, offered honorable surrender. Their reply was a spear that nicked his helmet. He signaled archers. Arrows darkened the air. The square collapsed. When dusk finally quenched combat, the plain lay silent, but for the moans of wounded and crackle of grass fires sparked by torches. Roman heralds scoured the field, locating Decius Mus's corpse. They bore him on a shield back to camp, where Fabius wept openly, yet proclaimed a triple triumph. For Rome, for Decius, for Jupiter. Coalition losses were staggering. Perhaps 25,000 dead, 8,000 captured. Roman dead numbered 8,700, each name to be carved on funeral tablets. Sentinum's impact ricocheted across Italy. Etruscan and Umbrian cities sued for peace, sending hostages to Rome. The Gauls retreated beyond the Apennines, their prestige damaged. Many tribes would never again unite in such scale until Hannibal's arrival a century later. Samnium fought on in guerrilla bursts, but the backbone of its confederacy was snapped. Rome, meanwhile, seized the vacuum. Colonies at Senna, Gallica, and Ariminum locked the Adriatic corridor. The Via Flaminia's conceptual seed was planted that evening in Fabius's strategy tent. Rome had proved it could bring overwhelming power, flexible tactics, and near-religious resilience against a coalition triple its complexity. The Republic was no longer merely surviving perplexing adversaries. It was demonstrating capacity to orchestrate multi-front campaigns and integrate foreign auxiliaries, heralding the model that would later swallow the Mediterranean. Sentinum also codified the legend of Devotio. Future generations would recite Decius Mus's self-sacrifice as moral gold, the state above self, the living debt Rome owed to its gods and heroes. Centurions invoked his name before storming Carthaginian walls, and Caesar himself, preparing to cross the Rubicon, reportedly pondered whether political risk equaled Decius's leap into honorable oblivion. The battle thus became spiritual currency, as well as tactical blueprint. Stand on the plain of Sentinum today, and you will find only gentle farmland, poppies nodding in breeze, and distant tractors humming where war horns once thundered. Yet if you press fingertips to the soil, you might feel warmth older than sunlight. The residue of 60,000 beating hearts who staked the idea of Italy on one brutal day. Here Rome discovered that alliances of convenience crumble before discipline wedded to vision. That sacrifice, when fused to strategy, forges a steel morale invulnerable to fear, and that the peninsula's destiny would henceforth turn on Latin, not Oscan or Celtic tongues. Sentinum warns modern eyes that coalitions built on grievance may dazzle in numbers, but falter at the test of unified command. It reminds us that innovation, checkerboard maniples, targeted reserves, psychological warfare, belongs to those who learn fastest from prior defeats. And it teaches that symbolic acts, like Decius's Devotio, can tilt a battlefield as surely as catapults. If this deep dive into Rome's forge fire fascinated you, don the lorica again and march with our channel through more crossroads of fate. Smash that subscribe shield, ring the Legion bell so the algorithm's scouts know where your interests camp, and share this chronicle with comrades who crave strategy sharper than a gladius point. Then draw your stylus in the comments. Which forgotten clash, Heraclea, Cynocephaly, Beneventum, should we resurrect next? Your curiosity is the standard we follow. Your engagement, the oath we honor. The past still drums beneath our feet. Let's chase its echoes together, one decisive battle at a time.